There are actors who like to be a bit of a chameleon and, I didn't recognize him in that role because with all the hair and the nose and whatever it is. I'm more interested in the heart of whatever character I play is me. Do you know what I mean? You go,
Yeah.
what is this guy about? Why he's angry? Why is he angry? What makes him, what is it that's gnawing away at his mind? There's very little gnawing away at my mind. Well, there's very little gnawing away at my very little mind.
Once we were spacemen.
I tend to play weird people, usually aliens and robots and things that don't have romance.
I once didn't get a job where they were looking for a Nathan Fillion type. Once we were spacemen.
Once we were spacemen.
Hello and welcome back to another episode of Once We Were Spacemen. We still were once spacemen. Nathan and I flew in a spaceship called the Serenity. That was a Firefly spaceship, but now we are on the ground. But isn't Earth in space also? And when we're talking to Mark Addy, he was in Dune, which was in space, but it was also on a planet, so we're all in space. As I said, Mark Addy!
Pretty professional, Mark, right?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Always.
Mark, we met, I don't expect you to remember this, but back in 2000, did you say 6 or 7?
6 or 7 when I was doing Death at a Funeral.
Yeah,
I met you at a little pub at a football game that was, I don't know who was playing, but it was largely disappointing. I remember at the end, everybody was very sad. And you and some friends of yours were extremely kind to us, welcoming a bunch of Americans and this Canadian to your little group and kept us very entertained. It was really wonderful to meet you. It's so good to see you again.
You too. I remember it very well. We had a terrific night, and it's it's great to see you again.
We sure did.
Was that the night where the football game, soccer for those Americans, the football game coincided with the gay pride parade?
That was the night.
It was, right? And so like all of these footballers, which I had like read books about hooliganism and all of that. You think of the rough and tumble and dangerous gangs of football, like arm in arm with like guys with, it had rained, typically London, like with soggy tutus and
Spanglish
and wings and things.
Yeah.
There was no violence whatsoever. Everyone was consoling each other.
Big fella was just kind of just sagging and walking on, and a fella in a tutu said, "What happened, love? We lost the game." It's, "I'm sorry," but his end around him and
that's right.
Consoled him. It was very sweet. I was like, "This is lovely."
It's a beautiful thing. It really is.
Did you ever play football?
I tried. I was a bit useless. Rugby was my game, which is involves a bit more kind of bumping into people, which I was quite good at.
You can get hurt playing rugby.
Oh, yeah, no, that's part of the deal. But it's one of those weird sports where the harder you play, the less injured you seem to get. It's a weird one.
Wow. And you stopped just before your ears started turning.
That's right.
Which is a thing that happens.
The cauliflower ear?
Yeah, the cauliflower ear.
Yeah, it's not pleasant. Luckily I didn't manage to get those, but yeah, that's part and parcel of the game. We don't wear helmets. We don't wear padding. It's a different, we're tough over here.
Yeah.
That's the perfect sport for you, man.
So when did you get into acting then? When did that start becoming a thing for you?
I think it was about 14, 15. I was keen on doing it at school and what have you. But when I was about 14 or 15, I did 3 weeks work placement, like an internship at York Theatre Royal, working in the scenery workshop. And I just loved it. I was there with creative, funny, artistic people, clever. It wasn't like being at work, And at the end of my 3 weeks, the master carpenter said, "Do you want to come and crew on the panto at Christmas? We need extra hands. We'll pay you." And I was like, "Yeah, I think I could probably do that." So I started working backstage, And I just used to watch actors work. We'd do a scene change, and I would sit and watch the scene. Watching a play night after night is different from seeing it once, one and only time, because you notice the difference in performance and the way things develop and the way actors work. And I just found it fascinating.
So then you said, I'm going to try the acting bit. I'm going to get on stage.
I got to speak to actors who were working at the theatre, and, they said, right off to drama school, get a prospectus, see if, or you can audition for these places. You don't necessarily have to go, but audition, it's all good experience. And so I took their advice and got in somewhere, which was a kind of a surprise, really. But that was me kind of starting out. It was down to London at the age of 18. I'm from the north of England. So it was a real, a big change for me, heading down to the big city, not knowing anybody there. So the people that I met, at drama school, I'm still kind of firm friends with now, because they're the only people you have in a place the size of London. They're the only people you know.
RADA has got to be a hell of a challenge, like putting you through the paces. So it's like its own boot camp, like artistic boot camp that you.
I guess so. It was a relatively short course. It was 2 years and a term. So it was,
cool.
it was very short. There was no, you really got nothing at the end of it other than a diploma saying this person attended this place. So you weren't qualified to do anything or to teach anything, but you had been there. But I loved it. It was a real, I grew up fairly quickly. But it was great experience, and it was focused on performance. Certainly, towards your final 2 terms were just rehearsing and performing. By the end of it, you'd done 35 shows in front of a paying audience, 35 different plays. So it was, there was a lot to it, but it was great experience.
What takes you from there? What pushes you forward? Who mentors you? What's the path after that? Because there is no, if you do this, you'll be an actor, everybody. There's no one path. So what was your journey?
I was fortunate enough to get an agent before I left drama school. So she was putting me up for plays and for theatre companies. Theatre was where we start in the UK. And so I was already auditioning for things before I'd finished drama school. I was offered a job pretty much on leaving, so kind of went straight into theatre, which I did for quite a number of years. That's in a way that's how you serve your apprenticeship in the UK. Theatre is how you learn your craft. It's great. You learn a lot, and it's you really you learn some bad things as well. But you do learn good things about the way to work and how to create a character, and you also have to sustain it, of course, for a play. If you're on a movie set or a TV set, you've got those lines in your head for that day, and then they're gone. With a play, it's got to be in there for the duration of the run, and it's got to sound fresh every night. And there are a lot of different elements to it, but it's basically the same job, I suppose.
I think the plays are such a great education, and also films and television at times, where going into a play, you're one person, coming out of the play, you're a little bit different. The experience of the play teaches you that since you have the time to work on a role over a period of time, you have an opportunity to hone a certain part of, or you learn a lesson or two. Like there's a trick that you picked up or a friendship that you made. I don't know. I always found, like, if I've done too many films and television, I used to do this, I would always be like, I got to go do a play because I got to get back into the craft of acting again.
There's something about being in the same room as an audience and having that immediate response to what you say or the way you say it, or it's a good sort of way of gauging where you're, especially if you're being asked to do comedy, knowing where the line is, but possibly by overstepping it and going, okay, so we need to pull things back a bit. An audience is not ready to take that yet, but you learn. You're always learning, and that's the beauty of it.
Yeah, man.
Did you have your sights set on film and television? I mean, you've had incredible success in film and television. Was that the goal, or were you just along for the ride?
No, theatre was what drew me to the business in the first place. And, that's my sort of first love. I'd kind of gone as far as I could at the time with theatre. So I'd done a two-hander that toured the country. Producers saw it while we were on tour and said, this would be a great show to put in the West End. It's cheap. There's only 2 actors in it. This will be great. And we thought that would be a fantastic roundup to it. We'd done a 9-month tour everywhere in the country. Anyway, long story short, the West End version opened 3 weeks before we finished the tour, with him out of that TV show and her from that other. And we were like, well, wait, why didn't you just wait for us to finish? And we could, you don't have the profile.
Oh.
So I said, okay, I need to try and go and find some profile in order to be able to do a show in the West End. So started no more theatre for a while, doing it. I'd got an episode of this, a couple of episodes of that, or a little series. We do 6-episode series, or we did back then. Then, I got my own, me and another guy leading a show, which was great. And then auditioned for this film called The Full Monty that came along, and everything just sort of went haywire after that, really.
Here's some profile for you. The Full Monty.
That was huge.
As it happens so often in this business, you don't really get a good career until you take off all your clothes for somebody. It's just
It's age-old story.
You can fight it, but at some point you just give in and, see what happens. And for you, it went well.
I was very lucky. It just happened to be, and it was one of those you would never have known. I mean, reading the script, I thought, I'm not sure this is going to play outside of Yorkshire. It's a very northern sense of humour.
We're set in Sheffield or something.
That's right. Yeah, exactly. But to be, for it to be big in Japan, you go, well, what are they? Why are they? Apparently, they'd had a lot of kind of middle management layoffs. So they understood the Tom Wilkinson character who's trying to, make everything normal. Everything's fine, darling. So, yeah, it was a real eye-opener. To have that as your first sort of movie was... it was a ridiculous ride that we went on. But it opened a lot of doors, I guess.
Would you say, if you had a big break, would you say that was the one?
Definitely. Yeah.
Yeah. Because I remember, and that was when movies were movies. It wasn't just the blockbuster movies. You could see all sorts, you would go out to the week. I remember going to see it when I was in school in New York. You got to go see this movie. And going out to catch it because it was just known. There was still an opportunity. People went to the theater enough that quality films were viewed just as much in the theater, or had an opportunity, as well as big action IP, I guess is what it would be called now. It was fantastic.
The misconception is that it was a little independent British film. It was a low-budget movie, but it was funded and distributed by Fox Searchlight. So they have 21st Century, well, it was 20th Century Fox back then, 21st Century Fox behind them. Consequently, all the cinemas they own would trail it. It was easy for it to be out in the public kind of consciousness, if you like. They could get it out there much easier than a genuinely independent film would be.
You're right, though. It did have that independent film charm and feel.
Yeah, yeah.
But boy, you guys, everything, it was exactly what audiences were in the mood for. Like you said, you never know what's going to hit. And it was all people were talking about. Tom Jones had a resurgence because of that film.
Yeah, that's right. Hot Chocolate had a little resurgence as well. Errol Brown. Yeah. I mean, yeah, amazing.
So you are possibly responsible somewhat for Tom Jones's Burning Down the House, because off of that, he was able to put out that next album where he put out Burning Down the House.
Yeah, absolutely.
Which we heard, I don't want to jump too far ahead, but we heard that every night when we were shooting A Knight's Tale in Prague. No matter where you were, Burning Down the House by Tom Jones came on.
That's it.
So
Yeah.
you noticed a change in temperature of your career at that point. Was the phone ringing off the hook? Were parts easier to get, rooms easier to get into?
Yes, absolutely. I was asked to go out to LA to do the publicity for it opening because I guess Tom and Bobby were busy on their next project, But they got me out there. I've never been to the States before, didn't know what. They sent me on like a whistle-stop tour of radio stations. So,
Cool.
we'd start in LA. They sent me to Phoenix. I did a day there and stayed over and then flew to, I was in Detroit, I was in Houston, I was kind of all bounced around all over the country. I really didn't know whether I was coming or going, but it was a way of seeing, well, I didn't see much of these places, seeing the inside of a lot of radio stations. But it helped raise the film's profile, which was great.
I love those radio tours. Those are fun. You get all those all those guys who come in and they've got all their, hey, it's me and the Bean.
That's right.
Jimmy and the Chode.
I don't remember where I was, but the guy that was, he said, we're going to a radio station now. I'll tell you what, I'll put the radio on for you as we drive there, so you get a flavour of it. Man, and he was like, okay, we got a couple of girls in the studio and they're naked.
Jesus.
Right, okay. And I arrive, and sure enough, they've got two girls from the local strip club. This is before webcams. There's no reason for them to be stood there with no clothes on. You're on the radio. It was one of the most absurd.
She's got the best tits on radio.
Yes.
I got to tell you, my girlfriend.
Unbelievable.
So this was your first foray into America. What were your impressions?
Well, it's. They were honestly, all I'd known of America was what you see in the movies and on TV, and there are elements of familiarity that that you find there that you see as you're New York, wherever there'll be elements where you go, wow, this reminds me of whichever movie, what have you. But it's very different from where I'm from, and I'm from the north of England. I'm not from London. I've lived in London, but. No, I'm from the countryside up north, so those big American cities are a real eye opener.
A culture shock.
Oh, absolutely, yeah, in a good way.
You can have culture shock even in America, going to different cities in America.
Yeah, that's absolutely true.
It's a varied place, so
very
varied.
Big. There's everything. Yeah, it's a melting pot, I guess.
Less and less so. We're trying. We're coagulating here and there and separating. But did you do Flintstones after that? Did that come up after Full Monty? Was that sort of a?
Yeah, they kept sending it, and I kept going, no, that's ridiculous. But what are you thinking? No, you've got the wrong. And I said no so many times, but they just wouldn't take no for an answer. As absurd as that sounds. It was in a meeting with the head of production at Universal that it came up again, and they said, I was talking to our executive Stephen, and he said we need. I spoke to him and I said, who's Stephen? Is executive producer Steven Spielberg? Oh, maybe let me have another look at the. Now, and I have to say, I think I was played big time. Looking back, you go, oh wow, that was she played a blinder on that one because never got to meet him,
No.
But there you go. They got me.
I've worked with Steven so many times now. I've never gotten close. He just puts his name out there.
Yeah.
But that was a big, looking back at that movie, it was a big movie. It was huge. You guys made that whole world. I mean, it was like.
There was very, very little CGI in that.
Yes,
movie.
right.
They built the Vegas Strip in a quarry in Sun Valley. I mean, hotels, because everything had to be carved from marble or, various kinds of rock. So you couldn't use it. You can't just go to the prop store and go, we need some chairs. No, you've got to make, if you want chairs, you've got to make them. Cutlery has to be carved, Everything was, there, was in camera. There's very little added on. It was quite an experience. My family came out and got to see this nonsense that we were putting together. But it was a remarkable experience. And it afforded me my stupidest press question, which came from a British journalist who, in the 2 minutes allotted, when they do those quick turnaround junkets, the first question of her 2 minutes was, "So, Mark, in this movie, you get to drive a Bronto crane. Have you ever done that before?"
Just ever done that before?
You just think, but there you go. Unbelievable.
Nice. And that's where you learned your American accent. You had to learn an American accent for that.
I watched a lot of Honeymooners, which was kind of what the I guess the cartoon version was kind of based on.
Yeah, that was the template.
The Honeymooners. So watching a lot of those.
Wow,
helped.
Stephen Baldwin is Art Carney. That's you got to shake your head.
Long after Flintstones, you did a little film called A Knight's Tale, and you met Mr. Alan Tudyk. What was your first? What do you remember meeting him for the first time? What were your first impressions?
First impressions. He was a very confident Texan, and we were. I suppose we met in Prague. We didn't meet before. So Prague. Yeah, very, very confident young man. It took a while for him to understand the British sense of humour. We call it taking the piss, and it's something that people do to each other on a regular basis. There's no, it's a kind, in a way, it's a kind of form of affection. But if you're not familiar with it, it can seem very, very rude. And Alan used to take everything the wrong way. Be like, "What do you mean?" I said, no, we're joking. Well, by the end of shoot, he was fully on board and was taking the piss out of the rest of us as well. And that's why. Yeah, it was. It was a terrific time. We had about 5-6 months in the Czech Republic.
Yeah.
Yes, we had some very good nights and some probably very bad nights.
Yeah, it was a crazy. We were in Prague or in Czech Republic. That's great to hear. That is so. I would never have thought of myself as confident, but and also as a Texan, I remember I had my grandfather's cowboy hat.
Oh yeah,
that I wore on set as like my sun hat or something, because I considered them cowboys. I guess it was like when I read, I'm like, these guys are the cowboys of their time. They worked with horses and they were tough as nails. And if I was casting that movie now, I probably wouldn't be bringing that accoutrement. I'm sure for everyone there, who the fuck is this guy?
But it was such a kind of joyful shoot. Heath, obviously, at the time, he was 23, I think.
He turned 21 on that movie.
21.
I feel like he had his 21st birthday was on that movie. We could check that. We have some fact checkers. We got to go real quick on a fact check. Fact check that, would you? I'm going to go with yes. But yeah, he was young. He was there before us. When I got there, he had already been there.
Yeah, I think he and Rufus were out there early.
Yeah, Rufus Sewell, who played Count Adema,
the baddie.
I've had a pleasure to work with a couple of times since.
Brilliant. They got us out there, I think, about a month before we were actually shooting. Do you remember? Yeah. They said, we're going to do horse riding sessions. We're going to have all kinds of... We did maybe an hour a day, and they left us just to get to know each other. And And it was a stroke of genius, actually, because, by the time you came to shooting, you'd spent 4 weeks in each other's company. You'd upset everybody, You'd upset him. We've all made up. It's all back to normal, and you could work together really, really easily and comfortably.
He also gave us the prompt to Brian Helgeland, who wrote and directed the film. Get drunk, go get drunk, which in Prague is a very easy thing to do.
Yes,
they have some of the best beer in the world, and
it was very cheap as well.
It was very cheap because it was. So we did this in 2000, and the Velvet Revolution, where they went from being under communist rule, was in 1990. They had just switched, really, just 10 years before. So
it was pretty tense before that.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
And the people who were communists were all the people working on our film. They had just, like that guy, there was a guy who worked, I think he worked with horses, bald guy. He had a big handlebar mustache, bald. I guess he was in the stunts, or maybe he did the horses.
Yeah.
Anyway, he used to be an informant for the... Like he was telling me
secret police,
that he kept a button under his lapel, and when somebody went too far, he just turned his thing. He's like, he said, you never wanted anybody turning their thing. He's like, I did. That was what he did. And so these people are working with each other, having had to like not trust each other, but they'd also, the city itself, it was like, okay, we've got all this oppression now, and all those rules are gone. And so it was a kooky place still finding itself. But like Mark said, the beer was cheap. You could find, if you went to the local places, Mark and I got to hang out a lot because all of our shooting was together. And if you've seen the movie, which I hope you have, we are his valets, his varlets.
Varlets, yeah. His squires.
His squires, yes. These roles were made up. Like our jobs for Heath that's not a historical part of the movie.
You were just guys running a scam.
Yeah. We were just collecting a paycheck. Yeah. And so they were like, you two stand right next to this very large horse, which was, they had these Czech horses that had a hump on their head that were larger than normal horses. And they were very super proud of this horse. Great horse, Barney. And we'd stand as close as we can before the horse would run in and Heath would joust, or the stuntman would joust. And horses doing that don't want people standing next to them at all. They don't like that.
Oh, no.
And they figured this out. They figured out what the sequence was for them to joust.
They understood, roll camera, and they understood action. So... so the first assistant, that's right. They changed it. So the first assistant would shout, "Darling."
Yeah.
To which the answer was, "Ready, darling."
Yeah.
And that's how you'd ramp up before calling some form of action. Otherwise, the horse would be like, "I'm off now."
Wow.
It was a lot of time around the back end of a horse, wasn't it?
Yeah, dude.
Yeah, the glamour is primarily what attracted me to the gig.
And so we would go out a lot because our schedules were the same, had the same time off. And do you remember this night? I think this story tells the story of Prague and its sort of nascent democracy. We would go to the Budva bar restaurant. And it was like this old style beer steins, and you got game. You would eat venison and boar.
Wild boar,
Yeah, it was very good. And we'd have and this is the actual Budweiser, the original Budweiser. It was stolen, but it tastes so much better over there. Budva. And we were on our way home. I'll tell the first part of it. You can tell the second part.
Yeah.
So we're on our way home after having venison and boar, which was perfect and typical of this show because we're playing medieval during the day, and then at night we go out and eat medieval, and we'd be in bars in medieval. It was the whole city is medieval. It wasn't bombed during World War II, so we were living these medieval lives. It was quite fun. When we were in bars and there was trouble, we all stood up as one. It was the world continued outside of the set, it felt like. So we left the Budva restaurant. We're on our way back. You had to walk through this big, promenade sort of It was a wide street. And I remember seeing this very attractive young woman standing with a purse at her feet. I remember thinking it was an odd place to put your purse, but also, oh, she's attractive. We walk like about 10 feet away. Oh, there's another very attractive woman, and her purse is at her feet. What a strange thing. Oh, there's another one. Oh, sweet Jesus. I know what this is. These are ladies of the evening. Mark, I feel like you probably clocked what it was sooner than me. I was still a confident Texan.
I strode on ahead while Alan was distracted by the ladies' purses, presumably. And I looked back to see where he was, and he's surrounded by these three women. He's giggling. A couple of beers had been drunk, okay. Alan's giggling while these women, I can see, are going through all his pockets, literally, their hands. I'm like, whoa, 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 whoa. Managed to kind of drag him away. But they were, he was enjoying the fact that he didn't realize he was being absolutely robbed, completely mugged. But I think we got you away before anything, before they managed to.
I had my hand on my wallet. I realized that they were going, when they were grabbing at my backside, they were going for my wallet.
Yeah,
I held on to that. But they were just all around, and there was a sort of a madam figure there also, who was was somebody to deal with. She was larger and she could take me, and they were just all jostling me, surrounding, trying to get
trying to get whatever you had in your pockets.
That's not how I remember Oliver Twist going.
It was a wild time. I'm sure you get asked this. I get asked this a lot because Heath passed away, and it's fucking sucks. Like I mean, sometimes I don't answer it. Sometimes I do. I feel like I've answered it now in one very in-depth interview. Somebody asked me about my experience with Heath, and I had a great connection with him at one point during the film because you remember my friend passed away during the shooting that?
Yeah.
And Heath actually knew him, and Heath had me move in with him to take care of me. Him and Heather Graham were my wet nurses. Wait, no. What's a wet? No, not that. They were
that's not what you're looking for.
Not what I'm looking for. I mean,
well,
they were my helpers.
Nursemaids.
Yes. Like, see, if you can imagine Heath in the Joker costume and the nurse outfit, that was him. And then however you want to imagine. So that was a connection. It said a lot about who Heath was and what our relationship was, which was he was somewhat older than me, even though he was younger than me about certain things, He could be like, hey, you need help. Come, let me take care of you. Even though he was 9 years my junior at a time, at that point in your life, 9 years is a lot. You went on to do another movie with him, and you've worked with him. You worked with him then again.
Yeah, we did with Brian Helgeland, the same writer-director, we did a movie called The Sin Eater in Rome. So we were in 3 months in Rome working on that one. And again, he's just, he had so many interests outside of acting, so many things that he wanted to do. He was a keen photographer. He played the guitar. The list is endless. There were things that he'd write poetry. He'd just such a sort of rich life cut short. Very, very sad. Great to have had the experience of working with him extensively on the films that we did.
Yeah, he was a great photographer. He was doing selfies before selfies were a thing. You could just I have a great picture of the two of us, he and I, where I had to kiss him at that one point in A Knight's Tale, where I'm delivering a kiss from his love, Jocelyn. And I kiss him, and I had this little camera that Rufus Sewell had sold me, I think overpriced, his old camera. And it was a Leica, but Heath got it from me. He's like, let me see that. And we rehearsed it, and I kissed him, and he just put the camera out at arm's length. And it was an old analog camera, and took a picture. And it's this great picture of me. I'm turning away from him, and I'm spitting because that was the action after the kiss. And he's looking right at the camera with like this little wry grin, like, it's a great picture to have that he took.
Yeah, very cool.
Yeah.
It was just the most amazing kind of 5-6 months. It was quite a magical time.
And we liked it so much, we wanted to shoot a sequel. And we set up a sequel. Do you remember at the end?
Yeah.
Brian Helgeland had like come up with these like, you're on a ship and you're all rowing in the ship. And I guess Heath, and he's behind this guy, this very large mute whose eyes are sewn shut and his ears are sewn shut. And he's rowing and he's got this intricate tattoo on his back. And all you have to look at is this tattoo all day long. And it's like, wait a second, aren't those the islands off of Corsica? Wait a second. This is a map. This is a treasure map. And every time the guy gets whipped, another piece of the map goes away. Oh God. Like, no, give me his lashes. It was me. It was me. You have to believe me. I'm the trouble. It's me. And we were going to take over the ship and go get Jocelyn. And she was kidnapped by Adamar.
Adamar had kidnapped her. Yeah, that was the idea.
So there's an ending where, it didn't happen.
Yeah.
Mummy 2 beat us at the theaters. Son of a bitch. Mummy 2. It's had a longer life. It's made a great movie for young people. And so I feel like I meet going to conventions, cons. I mean, I did Star Wars and I've done space things and Firefly. These are things that I'm used to signing, but I get a steady meeting fans of A Knight's Tale.
There's a lot of love for it.
It was a huge movie. It was so, again, it's you guys were playing notes everybody wanted to hear at the time. It was such a charming movie.
It's a fairy tale. It's a good...
it's the underdogs.
Yeah. And Heath nailed it.
I'm going to fast forward to Game of Thrones because that was a cultural phenomenon. How did things change for you? What changed for you? Did you know going into it, oh my God, this is going to be great, amazing?
Well, no. So what happened was because we shot the first episode as a pilot the year before we started shooting proper.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so they reshot about 80% of it because there were cast changes and there were, according to David and Dan, it nearly didn't happen. It was pretty much a case of, please give us a chance to make it work because we're sure it can. And they kind of went, okay then. Because it's an epic project, and at the time, the books had a sort of cult following in America, but nobody in the UK had heard of them. Globally, they weren't anywhere on anybody's radar, if you know what I mean. It wasn't like you were doing Lord of the Rings, which is, very, very well known. These are books and characters that very few people know, so... Are they going to go with it? Fantasy is a notoriously tricky genre because if they don't spend the right amount of money on it, it just looks like a bunch of blokes running around in a wood. And, nobody really wants to see too much of that. Right at the very beginning, Sean Bean and I knew that, it's a one-season deal because, you die. And that is the nature of... You're not going to be tied into a 7-year deal so it made it relatively easy to go, yeah, we'll do that pilot, fine. Because it was relatively unknown, there was no expectation. So you could just get on and do your job. And our job, I guess, was to sort of establish what this world is, what the rules of this. It's a bit like the world we live in, but it's harsher, it's more brutal. There are parallels, but the rules are different. And it was our job to kind of establish those for an audience and set up, this is the nature of this society that we're looking at. So yeah, as with any show, they ask, could you, we'll sign you a non-disclosure agreement, we'll send you 3 scenes that we'd like you to learn and put on tape and send in to us. And the character description that I got was Robert Baratheon, once a fearsome warrior, has now grown fat, drunk, and lazy. And that was all you had to go on. And right, put it. I thought, well, I'll to give it my best shot, which I did. Forget about it. About a month later, my agent said, David and Dan are coming over to London. They'd like to see you. All right. They'll work on the same scenes that you did for the audition. Okay. But in the meantime, I went, oh, well, it's based on a book, isn't it? I better read this book. And I don't know if you read the books. They're great, but they're like a doorstop. They're very good. Yeah. But it gives you the entire kind of the history of the character. It's better than, those 2 lines of nonsense. You totally understood why he... he's in a loveless marriage. He tried to consolidate the power base by marrying a Lannister, and now he's suddenly surrounded by nobody he can trust. He knows that in asking Ned Stark to come and be his hand, that's practically a death sentence for him, but he's got nowhere else to turn. It's really... tricky stuff, but it all makes total sense in terms of the story and why those decisions are made. So reading the book, really, it gave me everything I needed by the time I met them to give a decent audition.
How cool. How cool to have such great source material.
So you do the pilot, and then it's a year before you come back to it and you reshoot the vast majority of the pilot. I'm imagining half the people aren't available after a year. They're on to other projects.
There were some changes, but, I guess the bulk of the major characters stayed the same. There were some... there were big changes. Daenerys was different. Catelyn Stark as well. They changed for various reasons. One was related to childcare, so I'm not going to be able to do Belfast for 6 months.
Right.
No, that's the other thing. It took you out of town for a great deal of time away from your family. There's some sacrifice there.
Yeah, there is. By the later season, I was talking to Jerome Flynn, who played Bronn in it. I was saying, wow, does it kind of eat up the whole of your year in terms of, no. They'll take me and Peter Dinklage, shoot all our stuff in 6 weeks for the entire season.
Oh.
Right, done and dusted. Because you're in that separate part of the world. Right. We'll shoot all that stuff together and then move on to you're not hanging around, literally 6 weeks, and that's your entire season done. Amazing.
How cool.
At what point then did you realize... Because you're shooting things a little bit in advance, so you have to wait a little while before the world gets to see your work. At what point did you realize, oh my God, we've really hit the nail on the head with this one?
It was really only once that first season had got underway. It's sort of hard to tell with these things. There are audience numbers and all kinds of stuff that you hear, and the reviews come out, and sometimes you have a look at them, and sometimes you don't, and you're just never really sure. I started to get recognized in the street from it. Even, this without the ginormous beard and hair and what have you. And I'm thinking, wow, that's it's surprising, and it still happens today. People of a certain age remember me from the full Monty. Younger people, it'll be Game of Thrones, and then sometimes A Knight's Tale, which is always a really pleasing one.
Yeah, man, agreed.
That was 8 seasons, but it was over the course of 10 years or something like that. They didn't come out regularly. Sometimes we had to wait a long time for the next season to come out.
Yeah, they overtook George R.R. Martin, who wrote the books. They got to a point where it's like, we've run out of your stuff, George. What do we? What do we do
wing
here?
It.
So he told them, the way he put it was, he told them the mountains that they needed to reach by the end, but he didn't mind what route they took to get there. I'm assuming he said to them, don't kill him or her, and make sure that there'll be certain characters that he said, just leave those alone. But anything else was fair game as far as George was concerned.
Mark, it sounds like your career has been largely a positive experience. I'm sure there was lulls and suffering in there somewhere that we've skated over, but it sounds like you've had a
Working with me in A Knight's Tale.
There's that.
And that hat.
It sounds like you've had a largely positive and successful and enjoyable career.
I've really loved it. If it were to finish tomorrow, I'd be like, you know what? I had a great time. I met some fabulous people. I did some stuff that, I saw some places that I never thought I would. And just being able to entertain people in whatever way, whatever way it is you're working. I think that the business largely is positive. Everybody is in the business to do the best. Let's make this movie the best it can be. Let's make this show really, really good. There are very few spoilers. There are one or two folk who are going to drag this down. But generally, it's all positive, and it's a lovely place to work. A movie set, a TV set. I love it.
And you've touched a lot of hearts along the way. You've made a difference to a lot of people. The stories you've told resonate.
Well, I hope so. I think, it's an odd one, isn't it? There are actors who like to be a bit of a chameleon and, I didn't recognize him in that role because with all the hair and the nose and whatever it is. I'm more interested in the heart of whatever character I play is me. I am why I got cast in the, you know what I mean? It's about how do I adapt myself to play this character? So it's complicated, I think, what I'm trying to say. But it's just, so you suppress certain elements of yourself and highlight others depending on what the character is that you're being asked to portray. Do you know what I mean? You go, yeah. What is this guy about? Why he's angry? Why is he angry? What makes him, what is it that's gnawing away at his mind? There's very little gnawing away at my mind. Well, there's very little gnawing away at my very little mind. But it's, that's what I find fascinating. Just going, right, it's me, but it's just a different version of me. That's my kind of philosophy.
Having had your success, if someone were to come to you and say, hey, this is a career I want to pursue, this is something I want to do, what advice would you have for a young actor, even an old actor who's just starting? What mistakes should they avoid? What should they focus on? What's your advice, your wisdom you would impart into them?
I would say get as much experience as you can, because the more you do, whether it be even in an amateur capacity, doing plays, doing work, making little films with other people, you're going to learn something from every step you take. And you never know, somebody might spot you in one of those and go, hey, that'd be great, and something that but just work and listen and learn and just watch actors that you like and see how they handle a scene and stick at it as well. That's the thing. 90% of this job is rejection. Oh no, you were too fat, you were too old, they've gone a different way. And you've got to be able to take that's water off a duck's back. Don't get upset about not getting a gig. Once you've auditioned for it, forget about it. On to the next thing. It's always forward.
Brilliant. And now we ask a question of each other and of the people that come on. What is something about Mark Addy that we don't know? What is it? What do we do? It's called Getting to Know You. Sorry, Getting to Know You. And there's a song that goes with it. I know you and you know me. Let's get to know you better.
So something we don't know about Mark Addy.
Something that you haven't said that is just a special thing that people don't know. We're just going to throw that at you.
I guess you wouldn't necessarily know that as a youngster, I was the drum major in our scout band. The drum major being the guy at the front with the mace who tosses it up in the air and twirls it around and generally shows off and can't play a musical instrument.
Oh, that's great. I got a great image of that.
Is that how they pick the drum major? Is that they go, Mark, we've tried you on a bunch of different instruments now. We're going to give you the stick.
Off the bugle. Come off the bugle. Here's a stick. Yeah.
Brilliant. Brilliant.
Oh, fantastic, Mark. What a pleasure. It's absolutely lovely to chat with you. I've been such a fan for so very long. I've had the opportunity to meet you so many years ago. It's so nice to see you again. Anytime I hear your voice, I feel comforted.
Oh, that's good.
It's so familiar. I just absolutely, what a treat. This is such a treat. Thank you for doing this.
You're very welcome. Great talking to you guys.
Great to see you. Great to
You
see you.
too.
If ever you're in Los Angeles and you want to be hosted, please let us know you're here. And if ever you want to do a long-running police television show, please let me know. I have one running right now. We'd love to have you.
Excellent. I'd be remiss if I didn't, two of my kids said, if you don't tell them how much we love Firefly, then, we will never, ever speak to you again. They are, heartbroken, massive fans. Very jealous that I'm getting the opportunity to speak to you right now. So, listen, Firefly was genius.
Yeah, it was a good one, man.
Yeah.
It deserved a longer run.
It was a fantastic experience for us. And the reason I actually got to become friends with Alan Tudyk, so it holds a lot of, it holds a real special place in my heart. But it sounds like your children are suffering from excellent taste.
Oh my God, thank you for listening. You just bless your heart. You know what? If you haven't yet, why don't you head on over to our Patreon? You're going to get some bonus content. That's extra content. They're longer episodes. There's more there. You know what's better than less? More. You also get a chance to get your hands on some incredible crap. The kinds you don't need to wash off after you're done. And if you love the show, please leave us a review and tell your friends. Once We Were Spacemen is a Collision 33 production. The hell that is. The show's produced by Michelle Chapman, Siobhan Holman, oh yeah, and Josh Levy. I wear them jeans. He is of Collision 33. It's all starting to make sense. It's edited and mixed and produced by Resonant Recordings with special thanks to Courtney Blomquist and Adam Townsell. Our theme music's done by Carlos Sosa. The Groove Line Horns guy? Yeah, and Joshua Moore. Artwork is done by Louis Jensen. Until next time, I swear to God, I love you.
A couple of beers had been drunk, okay.